dear Bagginses and Boffins.
Welcome back. We have a special episode today. We are watching and breaking down Mad TV's Lord of the Bling. Now, I don't know when this actually came out. I wasn't even aware of this at the time. I was far too young probably to watch this. This probably came out around the time of the original trilogy. But anyway, I thought, this would be a fun a fun way to see a take on Lord of the Rings that I have not seen. I think you were the one that first introduced me to this. This is a new Lord of the Rings element that I can now kind of add to my collection. So anyway, yeah, without further ado, I think we'll just jump in and start dissecting this. And the intro to this just kind of sets up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we meet a protagonist, Frodo Baggins.
That's right. And we meet the actor / character that will be filling in for Gandalf.
Sir William Cosby.
That's right. And, I think it fits really well because just the way he talks, that it's almost in not complete sentences, the accents on different things. It's very confusing to what he's talking about. And same as Gandalf.
And Cosby, he's fallen from grace, but back then, his old nickname was America's Dad, wasn't it?
True.
So he is kind of like a Gandalf figure.
Yeah, that's right.
In the African American community.
That's right. And I just think that, like you said, having him step in as the Gandalf figure to sort of lead you on your journey, and the fact that he's not very helpful, I think that's really fitting within the greater context of Lord of the Rings, because I think Gandalf could be a lot more helpful to his companions. And I will say, it's interesting to see Frodo first be, very inquisitive about the ring, and here, because it's so sparkly and shiny, it's really, they really like it. But then when told that it's evil, I'm going to pawn it. And this is really in keeping with Frodo from the original trilogy, because he does try to give it to everyone he encounters.
He tries to pawn it.
He does not want it. He immediately tries to give it to Gandalf. He then thinks of giving it to Aragorn. He then tries to give it... we're going to get there eventually, but he tries to give it to a lot of people. So that is within the character. And I think it's interesting to see that translated to this kind of comedy spoof of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, she meets companions. I don't know who these characters are analogous to.
Yeah, because one of them's name is just Tolkien and the other is Resin, I believe. I think this is supposed to be a combination of both Merry and Pippin and how they kind of just stumble in to the group, as well as meeting Elrond and other characters that help establish what the task is, right? Because they're the ones that tell our main protagonist that
where the pawn shop is.
That, well, you can't even use a pawn shop. You got to go to Mordor, which is a very convoluted rhyme scheme that they come up with to explain that. And because it's so convoluted, they're just like, we'll just go with you, which is very reminiscent of the original Fellowship getting together, where Frodo is like, I have to go on this quest, but I don't know the way. And everyone's like, we'll just come and help you out. Well, not everyone, only 9 people, or 8 people, I should say. So I think, it is funny, but it does feel like they got the essence right, which is Frodo's on this journey and characters just kind of come along with him. And then when he finally knows his true destination, Mordor, and what he has to do, people then offer to help him. So they get a lot of the elements to that right, even if the characters are completely ridiculous and very, very non-Tolkien-esque, if I can use that word. So yeah, we run into Galadriel, who
played by Missy Elliott.
Yep, and she is as helpful as she is in the original trilogy. I kid, but it is one thing that I kind of find funny, and clearly so do the writers of this, is that she just wants to talk. She's not there to truly help in terms of offering her services and to step in place of Gandalf, or to offer any assistance in terms of sending elves to help out. So
Yeah.
I think it is funny and is in keeping with kind of an interesting tone that people pick up on, where she's there to help in spirit or with some gifts.
I just wanted to holler at you.
Yeah, but really, she kind of just wanted to talk to Gandalf. The other funny thing is the idea of her talking to people in their minds and how other people can't hear it. I thought that was really funny.
But she literally talked to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Separately, though.
Yeah, separately. So the joke is here that she's talking to everyone in their mind. The funny thing here is that she's saying the same thing to everyone's mind, but just pretending it's different. Obviously, we know because Boromir shares a very emotional scene where he heard something completely different from Frodo, and he heard some troubling news about Gondor and Minas Tirith and whatnot. So, anyway, I thought that was a fun thing to include, as well as the showing the rings to each other. Now, obviously, the joke there is being showing each other their privates, just the way she phrases it. But the idea that she does have one of the rings, and she is another person Frodo does offer the ring to at one point. So it is kind of funny what they've picked up on and how these are key elements within the original trilogy and how they push the plot forward.
Well, we have the clansmen that are the Dark Riders, and that's about it.
Legolas shows up, and this is probably the one. This is where it really takes a turn for me. Legolas shows up and is the most useless character and the most out of place character. Like all the other ones, even though they're kind of making fun of it, it still feels somewhat in keeping with Lord of the Rings to some degree. This one, they've completely destroyed this character. Legolas can't shoot a bow, and yet his failed arrow shot is enough to scare away the Dark Rider. And I can't help but like think that this is supposed to be making fun of Legolas's ability, but I just don't get it. I don't see it. So, to me, it makes no sense. I laugh at it, but I don't understand where they're coming from.
It's just absurd. I think
it's so absurd. Like Legolas is so ridiculous. The arrow shooting being that silly, and then the fact that they're like wearing like no shirt and just like walking around really strangely. Like I don't know. There's just something really strange about this character. But anyway, yeah, they scare away the horsemen being played by the clansmen, and they then ask to join Frodo's posse. I mean, we've talked about this, how people just tend to just join up with Frodo, and this is no exception. It's just such a strange scene where Frodo says, "You can join my posse." It's just very strange. The whole thing is very surreal, I think, at that point.
I got your back. Introducing Cisco as Tinsel the Elf. Can I join your posse?
Hey, sure. You know what? There's enough room in my posse for everybody. I said posse.
So they're making fun of the good old walking around and fighting. A lot of walking, a little bit of fighting.
Yeah.
But then we get into the temptation of putting on the ring, which is also from the show. Don't put it on. Don't put it on.
And then
maybe
Legolas becomes like a stand-in for Gimli temporarily, or Gollum temporarily, and slides in between one of the other companions' legs.
A corrupting force.
Yeah. So that's an interesting twist for Legolas to take.
Legolas can't fight though. They made Legolas so he can't fight. He gets into a fight, but then he's not good at it. Then he ends up blowing his fairy dust and dancing with.
Yeah, it's unclear what they've turned Legolas into, and also just the way Legolas walks. He just kind of skips around and does like little like spins. It's very, very weird what they've done with Legolas.
Merry band as they walk around the woods and fight. They walk around the woods and fight.
I think what they're supposed to be doing there is almost making fun of the over, like the huge ego that these elves have and how they view themselves as being proper, but to a lot of people it seems very silly, just the way that they behave sometimes. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I just don't understand what they're doing with Legolas here, or even if that is supposed to be Legolas, although I'm pretty sure it is.
I mean, maybe it's Boromir. He's
Oh God, don't get me
being
started.
a-
That's
being a-
Boromir. I mean,
like
it
we
makes
need to use the ring.
it makes sense, but think about what they've done then for
But
Boromir.
it also could be Aragorn too, because Aragorn's the one that scared away the riders.
That's true.
Before.
That's true. So it really is
Or-
a stand-in for any like hero doing action stuff.
Mhm.
Now clearly, there's no way the joke is that the action scenes suck, because I think that's objectively not true. I think everyone really does see these as the pinnacle of battle scenes. I mean, heck, even today they still stand up. But I get the joke that there's a lot of walking and a lot of nothing happening, where characters join the posse, leave the posse, they have meetings, they talk, but they don't ever do too much. Like, they're still just trying to get to Mordor.
Mhm.
And then all along you've got Frodo dealing with this temptation. So yeah, I think they've covered a lot of the major themes, which I'm surprised by. Yeah, what the hell?
So they're just commenting on that the films are very long.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got the idea of the fact that there's no ending. We need a sequel. Then we need another movie after that. Some people maybe feel that they're too long. I personally don't. It is interesting what they've done. So it's hard to kind of talk about this ending without mentioning the transition from black to white when you put the ring on. But what they've done is they've turned them into a completely different person, which is a neat way to get across that Frodo has entered like some sort of shadow spirit realm and is no longer in the plane of existence. And we also see a bit of a personality change, which might be suggestive of the eventual change that we see Frodo make getting towards the end of the trilogy, where he is starting to really feel that pressure from the ring. So there is some hints there, but the messaging is a bit kind of muddled in terms of what's actually going on, because it's still unclear what some of these characters are even doing. But the joke that they need a sequel, that is pretty funny. I'll give them that. But yeah, I think that about does it. You got anything else to add? This was a fun little take on the Lord of the Rings. I actually thought they did a pretty good job with doing it in 4 minutes and touching on a lot of themes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Some of the jokes have aged clearly, and I don't understand some of the references to like some of these characters, because they're all supposed to be pop culture people of the day back then. So I don't really get the jokes of them playing specific characters, but still, I can laugh at the Lord of the Rings elements to it, and kind of see, it's interesting to see what they've picked up on, and what kind of even works in a comedy setting.
The enduring themes of
yeah,
the Lord of the
exactly.
Rings trilogy.
That's a good word for it. Yeah. But yeah, let us know if you've seen this. You can check it out on YouTube. What did you think in the comments down below? I'd love to hear your take on it. Obviously, this should not be a replacement for the original Lord of the Rings. You should still watch those if you really want to get a sense for what we're talking about. But it's always fun to see how other people perceive the original trilogy.
I regret to announce this is the end. I bid you all a very fond farewell.